Maria stood alone in the pouring rain, not knowing what to do with herself. She could not go home. Her husband's violent tendencies were all too familiar to her. Her insides throbbed with pain, a constant reminder of the abuse she had endured. Masha could no longer hold back her tears. 15 years of her life had gone into shedding them. Why had she put up with this? There was no love between them, only abuse that turned her into an object for cheating, violence, and betrayal. Memories of the previous day's events overwhelmed her, and Maria couldn't help but ponder her options. She had longed for so long to escape this grueling existence, but she could find no way out. Living in perpetual fear was unbearable. The constant fear of being maimed, or worse, killed occupied all her thoughts. What would become of her daughters if that happened? Who would take care of them? Her thoughts went back to the previous evening, when her husband had burst into the house, smelling of another woman's perfume. Maria suppressed her anger, putting off the morning's conversation. He was an unfaithful husband, changing women as easily as gloves, shamelessly socializing with them, and treating his wife with unwavering contempt. This could not go on. Her daughters were growing up and understood more than she did. For their sake at least, she had to make a change. Sleep eluded her, and her mind swarmed with countless thoughts of what to do about her husband. Every idea seemed inadequate, for she knew he would only respond with insults and humiliation, despite her undeserved treatment. According to her friends, Maria was the perfect wife who deserved to be cherished, but she longed to be free from this cyclone of quarrels and strife. Sighing, she glanced at her watch. "We need to sleep. We need rest," she muttered to herself. "What are you muttering about?" Rumbled her disgruntled drunken husband. Maria decided not to answer anything, pretended to be asleep, and pretended not to hear his words. Early the next morning, having prepared breakfast, she called her mother. "Good morning, Mom. Can you pick up the girls from school today? I want to surprise my husband." Her mother's voice sounded skeptical. "Good morning, my dear. I know your surprises. Maybe you shouldn't, or it could end up like last time." Determination filled Maria's voice as she assured, "No, Mom, it won't be like last time. I promise." "Okay, honey, I'll take the kids." The mother agreed. In a hurry, Masha rushed to wake her daughters and feed them before school. Fortunately, they were wonderful girls, well-mannered and diligent in their studies. They reminded her of the person she had once been. "Girls, wake up. The sun is shining. Time for breakfast," announced Maria cheerfully. "What are you yelling so early for?" grudgingly muttered her husband from the threshold of the kitchen. Masha again remained silent, knowing that after a heavy drink her husband always woke up with a headache the next morning. She knew it was better not to provoke his anger. Knowing all his habits well, she could even anticipate his every move. So she always tried to be patient, keep quiet, and maintain a semblance of calmness in the family. To her relief, the girls quickly finished their breakfast and hurried to school. Her husband got a call from work, and he left without eating. Masha was left alone, with a long list of things to do before the evening. Turning on some music, she started cleaning, humming to herself as she carefully tidied each room. Once finished, she decided to treat herself to a warm bath. It was her ritual. Whenever she found herself alone and everyone else was away, Masha would take a bath, turn on some classical music, and enjoy the peacefulness. This time was different. She needed to gather her strength before a serious conversation with her husband. Time passed quickly. Masha was preparing for dinner, wanting to please her husband by baking his favorite dish, duck with apples. She carefully dressed up, putting on her favorite black dress, making light makeup, and styling her hair. Looking at herself in the mirror, she saw a fragile and attractive girl. Not understanding why anyone would betray her and treat her badly, she had barely finished getting ready when the doorbell rang, and she hurried to answer it, knowing her husband didn't like to wait. "Maxim, I've cooked your favorite duck. Masha greeted him from the threshold. "The girls are staying with my mom tonight. We can spend this evening alone together." "What are you doing now?" replied Maxim impatiently. "All I need is food. Bring me dinner. I'm hungry." Maria obediently served dinner and sat down across from her husband, not knowing how to start the conversation. After waiting for him to finish eating and put the dishes away, she made 2 coffees and joined Maxim in the living room. "Maxim, we can't go on like this." Masha plucked up her courage and spoke. "I want to know what's going on. I don't want to live like this anymore. Let's start all over again. Let's try for the sake of our daughters. Start over." "Are you out of your mind?" snapped Maxim. "You think talking about children will soften me up? You knew I didn't want children, but you had them anyway against my wishes." "Well, if you don't love me and don't want us, then don't make us suffer," Masha pleaded. "Give me a divorce. I don't even need your alimony. I can do it on my own." "What can you do on your own?" resented Maxim. "Have you forgotten how I provided for you? Who needs you? Without my support, you'll starve to death." Maxim's temper got hot, and he stood up, slapping her across the face. "Maxim, what did I say wrong?" asked Masha tearfully. "You don't love me. You don't need us. Just let us go. Don't torture us. I don't deserve to be treated like this." Tears came to her eyes, and Masha couldn't understand why her love and devotion was causing such cruelty. Maxim's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at his wife, his anger boiling like that of an enraged bull. He swung at her again, his cruelty escalating. Maria, terrified and bruised, ran outside, clutching her cell phone in her hands. She could not return home for fear of more beatings from her husband. She also didn't want to burden her mother with her problems. Disheveled, with a black eye, Maria thought of her childhood friend who lived alone. Maybe she could ask her for help. Reluctantly, Maria dialed her friend's number. "Hi, Ira. I hope I'm not disturbing you." She spoke through a voice shaking with tears. Hello, Masha. No, you're not interrupting." "How are you?" replied Arochka, anxiety audible in her voice. Unable to restrain her sobs any longer, Maria burst into tears, unable to utter a word. After recovering a little, she briefly described the situation to her friend. "Where are you right now?" "Are you at the drugstore?" "Stay there. I'll be right there," exclaimed Arochka. Half an hour later, Arochka pulled up to her friend's house. They sat in the kitchen, drinking tea, and tried to find further actions. "Well, Mashenka, tell me, what happened?" asked Arochka softly. "My husband beat me again. He always beats me. And I just want peace," Maria whispered, her voice filled with pain. "Then get a divorce," Arochka advised firmly. "I can't. He'll kill me," Maria replied with obvious fear. "He won't. I'll help you," Ira assured her. She went out into the other room and began to call, determined to find a solution. "Well, that's it. Everything will be fine now. Tomorrow morning we'll go to the police station. You'll write a statement, and then we'll meet with a lawyer who will help you file the divorce papers. You remember Vlad? He's the most famous lawyer in town right now. In the meantime, let's get some rest. You need to sleep," Ira consoled Maria. Maria reluctantly lay down on the sofa in the living room, but sleep did not come. In the morning, they went to the police station to write a statement. The police officers assured Maria that they would do everything possible to make sure that her husband could not harm her again. She entered her house with a sense of calm. Maxim was nowhere to be found, probably still at work, Maria assumed. He didn't return in the evening or the next day. 10 days later he did show up, but not alone. There was a girl beside him. There were rumors about her kind that warned them to keep their distance. The girl looked at Maria with a condescending gaze. "Darling, hurry up or we'll be late," said Maxim smugly from the threshold. "You want your freedom. I'll give you freedom. I'm going away with my beloved. And you'll live with him. scoffed Maxim, gesturing to a man standing behind him with a backpack, who looked like a homeless man. I took a deposit from him, formalized the contract, so Vitaly will live here for a year. In case you forgot, I have my own share in his apartment. Satisfied with his antics, Maxim turned and walked away. Maria stood there not knowing what to do, torn between jubilation and tears. On the one hand, it was a relief that Maxim would finally disappear from her life, but on the other, who was this man? How would he behave? How would they live together? Her musings were interrupted by Vitaly. "Good afternoon, my name is Vitaly," he greeted her. "Good afternoon, if it can be called good afternoon," Maria replied sadly. "Please don't think I'm a bum or a criminal. I am a doctor. I work as a surgeon in a private clinic. I recently returned from a business trip, and I haven't had a chance to clean up. My apartment is flooded and in need of major repairs. I found your husband through an ad. We met and discussed everything. I had no idea about your situation. Don't worry, I won't bother you." "Well, what can I say? Come on in. Let me show you to your room," Maria said, starting to feel a little calmer. This man didn't seem as intimidating as she had thought at first, especially now that he had shaved, showered, and appeared quite handsome. "Sit down, let's have some tea." Maria prepared the tea table in anticipation of the arrival of her school friends. However, she was faced with the question of Vitaly. She did not want to exclude him from the company. It would be impolite, but she did not know how to explain to her friends that she and her father were divorcing and that Vitaly would soon live with them. Fortunately, the girls understood the situation and accepted Vitaly as their friend. Days passed. Maria was looking for a job, at the same time doing home cooking and selling her delicious cakes and pastries. Vitaly stayed late at work, marking the passing of time. One day, unexpectedly, Vitaly returned from work early. "Wow, what a masterpiece! Are you cooking this?" he exclaimed, marveling at Maria's culinary prowess. "You should open your own pastry shop." Maria expressed her gratitude and revealed that this was her dream as well. However, she explained that due to certain circumstances, she could not open a bakery and was now looking for a job. Vitaly became curious and asked about her background and where she learned to bake. Maria reluctantly admitted, "I didn't have the opportunity to go to school. I got married at a young age." She went on to explain that she had to marry to help her father out of a financial crisis. Although there was no love between them, they lived together out of a sense of duty. Vitaly reassured her, saying, "Everything happens for a reason. Don't worry." "I'm used to it," Maria replied, though deep down she carried the weight of her past. Comforting Maria, Vitaly made a promise. "I'll do my best to help you open your bakery. After all, we are not strangers, we live together," he said with a warm smile. "Thank you, Vitaly," Maria thanked him. "You're welcome," he replied good-naturedly. From that moment on, Maria felt a deep connection with Vitaly, as if she had known him all her life. Using his connections and resources, Vitaly managed to find them a suitable space for the pastry shop. It was a spacious space that could accommodate a mini bakery for the production of cakes and pastries, as well as a cozy cafe where customers could enjoy these delicious treats. Masha's birthday was approaching and Vitaly wanted to surprise her. He took out a loan, hired a repair team, and bought all the necessary equipment for a mini bakery. On Maria's birthday, everything was ready. A beautiful cafe called Maria was waiting for its hostess. "Mashenka, happy birthday. I have a surprise for you," exclaimed Vitaly. "Thank you. What kind of surprise?" Maria asked curiously. "Let's go, you'll see for yourself," answered Vitaly. They drove in silence, and Maria couldn't help but feel nervous, feeling that something important was about to happen. "Here we are," Vitaly announced. Maria looked ahead in bewilderment. It was Maria's cafe. "This is your cafe now, just like you wanted," Vitaly said, nudging Maria forward gently. Mine, but how? Maria stuttered, overwhelmed with emotion. Like this. Dreams come true, Vitaly confirmed. Happy birthday, Masha, and don't worry about anything else. This is my gift to the most beautiful woman in the world. Vitaly, thank you. I'm so happy. I've been dreaming about this all my life. Expressed Maria, expressing her gratitude, feeling overwhelmed with joy. After looking around the cafe and showing her around, Vitaly suggested going to the restaurant, where another surprise was waiting for them. Who's waiting? Another surprise, Maria inquired. You'll see, Vitaly replied with a mischievous smile. They were greeted at the restaurant by Maria's mom, 2 daughters, and her friend Irina. Happy birthday, they shouted joyfully. Be healthy and happy. Stay always the same wonderful person we love. Maria felt happy to have all the dearest people in her life around her. She smiled and radiated happiness. I have a toast, exclaimed Vitaly, raising his glass. Mashenka, thank you for taking me in and not abandoning me. I've been living with you for 6 months now. The repairs in my apartment are finished. Maria's face darkened. She was worried that Vitaly was going to move out on her. But so much has changed in these 6 months. You appeared in my life, and it became the most significant event in my fate. Vitaly continued. Mashenka, my favorite, will you marry me? I want me and my girls to live as one family. We are doing so well, and I want it to be official. I agree, exclaimed Maria, her eyes shining with happiness. It is about such a husband she always dreamed, kind, reliable and caring. For a year of living together, Vitaly became for her not only a husband, but also a loving father for her daughters. Maria could not imagine a happier life, free from the problems associated with the past marriage. As for her ex-husband, Masha rarely remembered him, and he made no attempt to remind her of his existence. There were rumors that his new girlfriend took advantage of him and left him. If it hadn't been for Maxim, she wouldn't have had a chance to meet Vitaly and experience true female happiness. Deep down, she felt grateful to her ex-husband for that. Today, Masha had an important meeting with investors to create a network of confectionery shops under her own brand Maria. Getting out of the car, she suddenly came across a comical scene. Her ex-husband was heavily intoxicated and struggled to keep his balance. He desperately tried to enter the cafe, but the security guards firmly refused to let him in. He shouted and threatened, but the guards remained adamant. Maxim, please don't. It is forbidden to enter our cafe while intoxicated, Masha advised, trying to reason with him. Maxim looked at the name of the cafe with trepidation, and his voice trembled. Maxim was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. In front of him stood Maria, the woman he had despised and ridiculed for so many years, and now not only had not lost her composure, but was glowing with beauty, having achieved stunning success.